Okay, does anyone remember what? Because it's been like 4 weeks, right, since we last met, I think. What was the last thing we spoke about? Can any of you remember? We can't hear you, Suvik.
Okay, we decided on the must-haves and the should-haves, like the features for like each thing.
Yeah, that is true. Can find the link here, or I could just share my screen, I guess.
Before we start with this, I have one question because I just noticed that my domain expired, the thing that I use for publishing the Kotlin library. And now I'm thinking if I want to use the GitHub subdomain that I get for free, or I think for the Java library, we already have a Maven repo with the async API domain. Do you know who has the access, or how would I get access? What's the process?
Lucas. I actually don't know if there's anyone else that has access. Maybe Fran has. But usually Lucas has access to all the certificates and secrets and whatever is needed for now.
Yeah, I probably guess that currently it's maybe a GitHub secret. So that's actually not shared with, for example, Pavel. But then the question is if I actually could use it in different organization. Probably not, right?
You have to have. It's because your tool isn't donated to async API, right?
Not yet. I mean, I don't mind also moving it to the organization if this is easy.
It's pretty easy, yeah. All it takes is basically that TSC like signs it. So it's gonna take 2 weeks because there's a voting period, but that's it.
Okay.
And
So
then you
just
move it.
ping Lucas about this, right?
Yeah, I think we have a few examples. Yeah, so it's basically like just say that you want to donate it. And then I actually don't know if this is still the way to do it or whether you need to create an issue. Probably an issue. And then in the end, Lucas will help you or will create the repository for you so you can move it. And then you get all the access to publish it under async API organization.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Anything else? Any of you want to discuss before we move forward? Okay. I think the last meeting we each should have taken like a rough look at the must-have items and how they're supported in the languages. And Suvik have added some items to the project board. So let's pull that one up as well. Projects. Have any of you taken a look at all the must-haves for each of the tools and like took a look whether it's possible right now or it needs some work?
I had a look, but I didn't really do any research. I just had the feeling that for Kotlin, I should probably also sync with Pavel, because I think the Java ecosystem is probably a little bit better set up right now. And I think it's a good idea to just reuse this stuff also for Kotlin, so that you don't actually make a distinction for this.
One question I actually had regarding Kotlin and Java is there any reason to have both, or are they interchangeable?
So Kotlin and Java compile to the exact same bytecode. So after it's compiled, it's the same language. The only difference is if you want to use Java from Kotlin, the API might look a little bit weird from a Kotlin perspective. So I'm thinking maybe for the parser, there is no difference really. Yeah, for the parser, maybe the only difference is if you want to pass from code to the schema, you might want to use this Kotlin DSL. That's the only difference that I would make, and everything else should be Java.
So is it just a preference whether you write the tool in Kotlin or whether you write it in Java?
Yeah.
Okay. So technically we only need one, like we only need a parser in either Kotlin or Java, not in both.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes it easier as well. So it's similar to TypeScript, JavaScript, more or less.
Yes.
That if you have one in TypeScript, then you'll have one in, yeah. Okay. I did took a look at the Python tools. Suvik, did you take a look at the Go as well?
Yeah, in Go, I don't think they have like code. There's no code first, no schematization, nothing. For
Okay,
parser, yeah, for parser, we already have some things going like one-to-one representation and serialization, deserialization. Those are the only things that we have. We have somewhat of like meaningful and helpful error messages, but it could be better, like it could be made better. And nothing else yet in Go.
Okay. Yeah, for Python, we also have, so the JSON schema files, although you can't install a library, you can still fetch the schema files remotely, and then you basically have it in your tool. But there's no tool or there's no library that you can install and then access those schemas in the same way that you can for Go and TypeScript or JavaScript. There is not currently a public parser. There is a few code first tools that actually can do all the must-haves. So that's a plus because then we don't have to build it. Schema registry is, I kind of didn't know how to take a look at this because you don't really need a schema registry built in Python. You kind of need it as a service, right? So it doesn't really matter whether there is one in Python or not. It's just whether you can integrate into the Python parser, for example. But there's no schema registry that is specifically built with Python. Code generators, there is one template, but it isn't that up to date. So that one definitely needs work as well. We can, however, with Modelina generate type models for the message payloads. And it does follow best practices, and it can be integrated into existing frameworks. What's missing is generating, for example, API headers and type models for topics as message matrix. But that's basically it. What is missing for us to close this issue? Are we missing anything? Do we need to discuss anything? Do we need to take this further in the generic sense before like jumping into like each of these tools and actually start helping out? I don't think so either. At least nothing come to mind. I don't think. So let's close it. So this is our final proposal for the vision of each tool that we're gonna like aim for each of the things that we want to solve. By the way, Suvik, did you get a response from the others regarding whether we can create actual issues in the community repository, or?
Yeah, I asked in the general channel in Slack, but they all said to do it like this, or they can use. If you want, you can make issues on the this thing. We call it like the base one we have community. Yeah, so you can make issues on the community if you want.
Okay.
No one was
So
up for any ideas of opening a empty repo just for this.
okay. Does it make sense that we create all of them as issues, and then we can of course create a label so we can track all of the relevant issues. For example, essential building blocks label. Would that make sense? Because then we can basically search for it and have all of this.
Is our these labels synced somewhere, or is it like native to a repo?
We would create the labels inside the community repository. Yeah. I actually don't know if I am allowed to do it though. No.
Yeah.
I can get Lucas to do it if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we go from here? I have one suggestion how we can. How about each of us selects either a tool or a specific task that we want to do in our language of choice. So for example, let's say that that Lorenz, you want to do code first, and you want to focus on Kotlin, and you want to focus on, let's say, all of the must-haves. And then for each meeting, each of us has these priorities. So for example, I most likely will select parser, and we just basically like give updates. What's happening? Do we need to discuss anything? Is anything missing? and then basically work towards this vision for each of the tools. And then once we are completed with a task, we can move on to the next one. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's okay with me. I mean, I'm also kind of like focused on parser right now, right? So,
Yeah. What do you say, Lawrence?
I mean, which tool I would choose, or
No, just in general, whether it makes sense to
Yeah.
go do it like that.
it does make sense. I'm just thinking I probably have to start with migrating to the new domain before I can make releases again, you know? I think that
Yeah,
so for next meeting I try to get this done, and then I can start with some ticket from here.
that makes sense. But that's also exactly what it's supposed to be, right? It's not, what's it called? There will be periods where, for example, that you cannot progress because you're waiting on something else, or you have to do another task that might not be directly related to it. So it's all good. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so what do you all want to focus on? If you had to take some issues, or one or more, which one would you select now and be we can have multiple people assigned to the same issues. So it's just, what do you want to work on, basically? Or what are you interested in working on achieving? Do you want to start, Lawrence, or?
Yeah, I'm looking at code first. I'm just checking the must-haves again. Code. Yeah, I think for code first in Kotlin, I already have the must-haves. Now the question is, what should I do there? I'm also looking, so what I also had on my list is right now for Kotlin, we support Spring Boot only. Should we maybe also include a second framework? Can we integrate into frameworks?
When you say, so is it because you need some specific code in order to integrate into another framework?
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, for Spring Boot, you have this auto configuration where everything is done automatically, but if you use a different framework, the integration is more explicit by design. If, for example, Ktor is very popular for Kotlin because it's developed by the creators of the language themselves.
Okay. So do you want to take, because I think it would be a good idea if we use these as like if you used Jira before, it's like an epic, right? It's where everything else flows downwards towards each repository. So we can then, once we convert this to an issue, I'm just going to do it just for fun.
Yeah.
And then we can do basically what you want to work on, like which framework do you want to integrate into, right? You can have that as an issue in your own repository, and then basically linking it here so we know what's related to Kotlin, for example.
Yes. Because the funny thing is actually I only got one issue on my repository, as a request, and this is basically support one more framework. So it makes sense to just start with this. Not a bad idea, I think.
Why am I not allowed to assign you to this issue? It's because you're not part of. Are you part of the TSC?
No, only on of the working group team, I think. But
Okay.
I'm part of the organization.
I think it's because you're not part of the. I think it's. Are you here? Let's see.
Should be.
You
Yeah.
are. Okay. So why am I not allowed to give you this issue? I don't want to assign. Oh, you're there. Okay, no one. Okay. Oh, can I edit labels, please? Nice. Okay. Okay. So basically, these are already possible in Kotlin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just thinking, how do we, for example, know that that's possible in Kotlin? Where do we document that specific thing? Does it make sense that you add an entry to the so for example, can through application any code. So if I, for example, filter code first tools. So if I convert this to a issue, do you mind adding a comment, like saying for Kotlin, this is already possible, and then linking some docs or where maybe just a repository itself? So for example, we can backtrack where it's possible and where it's documented. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. As a comment, right?
Yeah, just as a comment.
Okay. Yeah.
These to do and in progress are kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe that. And then done is like, does that make sense? I think it's more anything that's in focus is something you want to bring up in like in each meeting, like how is it going? And anything that's not in focus is, well, nothing that you focus on right now. And then done is like when we are done, basically because we have the tools in all the languages that we want to look at, and are like, we can say that's completed. We can also remove done if that makes sense, because technically we're never done because there's always going to be another language, but have to stop somewhere. So I think, what if we, all right, so that's it. That's for the code first. Suvik, what do you want to focus on?
I have a parser. Like
The parser?
Yeah, focusing right now on Go.
Is it all of
Parse.
the must-haves, or is it just some of them for now?
Well, right now I'm focusing on serialize and deserialize. We have somewhat of a one-to-one access and representative async-based structure in Go already. And loading async document from file URL and separated structure is also working. And yeah, and documentation and serialization is something I'll focus on right now. And also the help messages. These three.
Okay, so basically we can set this one in focus.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I finish creating all of these? I did. Okay. Can you do the same as Lorenz for any of the existing? That any of the, yeah, if it already works in Go, we can also maybe, can all of you edit the issues?
Yeah, but I'm not seeing the one you just created. Did you assign me yet?
I have not. 2 seconds, because I need to find, it's this one. I haven't converted all of them yet.
Okay.
It takes a little while. Sure. In focus. So for any of the other yeah, any of the other need to have, do you mind adding a section about Go, what's possible, and where, like a link to it? In the same way that Lorenz are doing?
Yeah, I'm linking the repo that I'm working on and also the issues that like I opened.
Yeah, makes sense.
I can't edit the issue. For example,
You can. Okay.
I'm not sure if you can change it, but just to let you know.
Yeah, I know I cannot change it. Yeah, that would have been easier if we had the, like a separate repository, but it is what it is. We can always move it if we want. Okay, so now I created all for parsers. Okay, so I want to take, so I want to focus on the, so I'm basically still working on this one for Python. So I am gonna take that one. And then, yeah. So I know that Pavel is he is currently working on this, for example. So I can link you the PR. So even though he's not here, I'm gonna assign him an issue. So basically, Pavel is working on adding a lot of tests to the JSON schema files, which is basically that every object in the spec itself has a bunch of invariants to hold. And he added it for bindings as well, and he has it for all of the core okay, maybe not that one. But yeah, so he's working on that. And I am slightly helping him as well, but not much. So convert to issue. I'm just going to convert all the issues for now, I think. All right. For next time, I am going to go over something like this and make sure to describe what the current status is, because I know we have for VS Code. I'm not sure about the state for IntelliJ. I'm not sure about the state in the other IDEs. So I'm just going to take a quick look and like write it down in each issue for all of the must-haves basically, and see if we can like document some initial status.
In the long term, does it also make sense to publish the documentation? So, for example, how to, I don't know, use the IntelliJ integration, how to use the parser on the public website. If someone wants to know how to do something with a certain language, just a simple example for everything.
That would make sense, yeah. Maybe also what's the limitation currently? Because we also documented what you can and what you cannot do at the moment, but what is to come, right? Like where you can help getting it over the border, or like help us achieve it, or whether someone is already working on it, right?
Yeah.
Not sure to which degree it makes sense to document it though.
I mean, like the best practices for everyone
Yeah.
in the end.
Start a discussion. I think that's the easiest way to do it if you want to champion and see that change, I think.
But what is your opinions regarding the place? Where would it actually fit? On the same website where we have the spec, or something else on GitHub? just the README, something like this. Now we actually already have under docs guides, maybe. Maybe it fits under guides.
Don't we have a
Tutorials also?
That's a good. I actually don't know. Maybe ask on Slack first where the best place to discuss it is. I actually don't know for sure. So it depends on how detailed you want it, I guess. This is because if it's something like a almost to the same level of tools that describes it, or where it's better for readers to consume it, then the website would probably be the place for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good entry point to get more information, right? We already have generator, CLI. Maybe we can, I don't know, get a good overview of the capabilities there. I can make a proposal, I think.
Yeah, makes sense. Do it. And then add it for the agenda next time so we can see it. Okay, for next time. What's our plan? Does any of you have a plan, or is it to come up with a plan that's this agenda for next time?
As I said, my plan is to get a new domain for the Kotlin async API library and make the proposal we just talked about. That's it for me.
Suvik?
Well, I am kind of working on like serializing and like opened an issue on Modlina. There's a bug in Modlina, and today I was able to isolate it and figure out like it is happening because of pattern properties, and I'm trying to like figure out like why that is happening in Modlina and why is it behaving that way. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
So I am gonna help Pavel get this across, or at least move this forward. Then I am gonna work a little bit more on this for next time. I think it makes sense. So me and Suvik are kind of working on what's that called? It's like an approach to simplify parsers. And I think it makes sense to try and introduce that next time, maybe. And
I think maybe next meeting we can have an agenda that what we are trying to build in like with Modlina, what we are trying to do.
Yep, I think that makes sense to introduce our thoughts on that. And then I'm gonna go through all of the must-haves in order to document what's at least some of the must-haves. So we get more of a current view. If you have anything in your languages, please feel free to like add a comment on any of the issues. I can't remember. Could you edit this one here? Sorry, you can't see. If it's like here, like any task that is not an issue, are you able to, for example, edit it? Can you try do it, Lawrence? I'm gonna send it to you here.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So if it's not an issue, just edit the description and edit there.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex, you're asking if there's any pressing issues that is currently available that no one is picking up. Right now it is, there's a lot, as you can probably, because we only had 4 issues picking up. So if there's anything on this project page that, for example, you find interesting or something you want to work on, just basically ping us on both on Slack or in the next meeting. There isn't anything concrete like a good first issue type tasks. These are more, what's it called? Epics, like more encompasses more tasks than just one simple one. But they will probably be, there will be some in the future for sure. So I hope that answered your question. Anything any of you want to discuss or bring up before we stop for tonight? You're muted, Lawrence.
Just was mouthing no.
No. Okay. Suvik? Alex, Juan, Christine, anything you want to add, or otherwise we can end the meeting early.
I want you to take a look at this as well, and also try to see if there's anything I can do.
Yeah.
Which one would you think is more likely to be finished, to be able to accomplish, or more likely to be understood and has a solution at this time? Because I think maybe it's not like all of these issues are in the same process. Like some of them might need to wait until some others to be finished first. So which of these like available issues would you think is a good first one to like poke around and explore and see how things, what to do certain things? Yeah.
Does any of you want to answer it? Or do you want me to take it? So it's almost the same answer that I gave Alex. There isn't any issue that are easy to solve on its own, more or less. A lot of these issues, at least right now, require kind of a long-term vision. So that means, for example, if you want to enable, let's say that you're an expert or really like to write C++, for example, and you want to build a parser in C++, that's like an async API parser, or maybe a code first tool or something else. That's something that would make a lot of sense to do. So it all comes down to like what you're interested in and what would drive you for like than just solving a simple task, at least right now. There is in the future going to be like small tasks that can be achieved, especially as we get more libraries down. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of answered your question or.
Yeah, I think it definitely does. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that.
No worries. Otherwise, there's always, like, even if it's not in this working group, there's always going to be good first issue or issues that are solvable across all the repositories that we have. So if you're looking for something specific in a specific area, either docs or TypeScript language or whatever it is, just reach out on contribution and someone can definitely help you get started. So it all depends on what you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Christine, were you about to say something before?
Yeah, I posted it in the chat, but I think Sovik answered it a bit. There was a PR that I've worked on like months ago, and I recently updated it, and I tried getting a review from I can't really pronounce her name, but it's Quez Quetzali, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I cannot. I don't think we can help you with that specific. I would probably ping her on Slack or provide a message in Slack.
Yeah, I've been wanting to contact them, but I also didn't want to like come up as annoying in any way, so
you can just, like, a good thing to do is just write a message in one of the Slack channels and just say, hey, I have this PR. Is there any way to move it forward?
all right.
There's unfortunately not, like, it all comes down to the code owners of each repository.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Jonas.
Yeah, no worries. All right. Anyone have anything else? Otherwise, let's call it a night. Okay. So have a nice evening, everyone, or morning, or wherever it is, and see you next time.
Thank you. You too, bye.
Thank you.